The story begins amidst glittering chandeliers, crystal flutes of champagne, and the hum of polite laughter at a luxurious rooftop hotel in New York. The city lights stretch endlessly beyond the glass walls, painting the skyline in golden hues, a visual metaphor for wealth, power, and aspiration. Rachel Carter, in an elegant ivory gown that hugs her figure with meticulous precision, is the center of attention, but her smile feels rehearsed, almost fragile. Every congratulatory nod, every whispered compliment from the influential guests, contrasts sharply with the tension in her chest. Her fingers absent-mindedly trace the delicate bracelet Ethan had gifted her, a symbol of both love and the binding expectations of their families. Though the celebration radiates opulence and joy, Rachel's mind is a storm of doubt and unspoken conflict. She's acutely aware of her dual existence, the public persona of a bride-to-be thriving in a fairy-tale setting, and the private self suffocating under the weight of obligations she never chose. Each toast, each clink of glass, reminds her that her life is meticulously curated, yet hollow. The glamorous environment, which should excite and delight her, instead amplifies her unease. Her heart beats with an unarticulated longing, a sense that something fundamental is missing. Every elegant gesture around her, from the tailored suits to the orchestrated smiles, seems to amplify the disconnect she feels inside, a silent rebellion against a life predetermined by wealth, power, and societal expectation. Ethan Blackwell, her fiancé, embodies charm and authority in a way that's as captivating as it is suffocating. His sharp suit, polished demeanor, and disarming smile make him the perfect match in the eyes of New York's elite, but to Rachel, each glance carries a subtle command, a reminder of her lack of autonomy. Their engagement is not just a union of hearts, but a strategic merger of businesses, an alliance orchestrated by families who see power and advantage rather than love. In the midst of champagne toasts and polite applause, Rachel's gaze drifts across the room, and she freezes. Noah Hayes, her childhood best friend and first love, stands at the edge of the crowd, tall and familiar, yet changed in ways only absence can sculpt. His presence ignites a storm she thought she had contained, stirring memories of innocent laughter, shared secrets, and dreams unburdened by societal expectation. The world tilts slightly as recognition passes between them. Ethan notices the subtle shift in her expression, the brief flicker of surprise and nostalgia. His eyes sharpen, his smile tightening just enough to hint at possessiveness. He leans slightly closer, voice laced with subtle warning, "Are you enjoying yourself?" The words, though casual in tone, carry a weight that stifles Rachel's fleeting joy. In that instant, the tension crystallizes between duty and desire, loyalty and longing, control and freedom, drawing a sharp line in the opulent air of the celebration. Overwhelmed, Rachel excuses herself from the conversation, her gown whispering against the marble floors as she moves toward the terrace, seeking an escape from the stifling air of expectation. The city's night wind greets her with refreshing candor, contrasting sharply with the controlled environment inside. She leans against the railing, heart racing, trying to untangle the tumultuous emotions stirred by Noah's unexpected return. The rooftop below twinkles with the life of the city, but Rachel feels suspended, caught between two worlds, the one she has dutifully entered and the one her heart longs to reclaim. Suddenly, a voice interrupts the fragile serenity. "I shouldn't have come, but I couldn't stay away." It's Noah, his eyes searching hers with a mix of vulnerability and resolve. Time seems to slow, the clamor of the party fades into background noise. Rachel's mind races, questions, memories, and desire collide. The words are simple, yet they carry immense weight, cracking the carefully constructed barriers around her heart. The moment is electric, charged with the promise of rekindled connection and the danger it brings to her meticulously planned life. Readers are left suspended with Rachel, sharing her anticipation, fear, and longing, fully invested in the unfolding emotional conflict. The rooftop scene crystallizes the tension of the story between love and obligation, the past and the present, and the choices that could redefine everything. Rachel Carter's life has always been defined by responsibility and the weight of expectation. From a young age, she was taught that personal happiness was secondary to family honor and financial security. Her father, a once successful businessman, now struggles with mounting debts, facing the prospect of bankruptcy that could dismantle the life they've built. Rachel absorbed this anxiety quietly, learning to prioritize pragmatism over passion, duty over desire. She excelled academically, attended the right schools, and mastered the art of charm and composure, all to ensure her family's survival. Yet, behind her poised demeanor lies a restless heart, one that craves freedom and self-expression. Her engagement to Ethan Blackwell is a calculated move orchestrated by both families, a merger that promises to rescue her father's company and restore social stature. While this arrangement is hailed as a triumph in the public eye, it comes at the cost of Rachel's autonomy. Each smile she offers Ethan at social gatherings carries the burden of unspoken sacrifice. Each compliment she returns is tempered with inner hesitation. She is acutely aware that her life has been bargained in boardrooms and banquet halls, reducing her existence to a series of transactions. The grandeur of her current engagement party cannot mask the tension coiling within her, a constant reminder that she is trapped between gratitude for familial loyalty and the gnawing emptiness of a heart unfulfilled. Rachel's struggle is both external, in the obligations imposed by her family, and internal, in the desire to reclaim her individuality and pursue authentic love. Ethan Blackwell is the embodiment of perfection on the surface, tall, impeccably dressed, and exuding effortless charm. To outsiders, he is the ideal fiancé, successful, protective, and adored by Rachel's parents for the security and status he brings. Yet behind this polished facade lies a man driven by control and appearances, obsessed with maintaining an image of unblemished success. Privately, Ethan is meticulous to the point of suffocation, belittling Rachel's choices and subtly undermining her confidence. His affection is conditional, often tied to her obedience and public compliance. While he can charm an entire room with ease, he harbors a possessiveness that grows sharper when Rachel's attention shifts elsewhere. Small remarks, casual criticisms, and silent evaluations mark his subtle domination, making Rachel question her instincts and desires. Ethan's controlling tendencies are masked as concern or protection, ensuring that those around him never detect his deeper insecurities. His obsession with appearances extends beyond social gatherings, it permeates their private interactions, dictating behavior, attire, and even conversations. To Rachel, Ethan represents both a savior and a captor, the man who can save her family from financial ruin but simultaneously threatens to suffocate the person she longs to be. His presence is a constant reminder that love and duty can become entwined in the most constricting and dangerous ways. Noah Hayes was Rachel's first love and confidant, the one who understood her unspoken fears and secret dreams during the carefree days of adolescence. As teenagers, they were inseparable, sharing whispered promises and stolen moments, building a bond founded on trust and unadulterated affection. Their connection was abruptly severed when Noah's humble background clashed with Rachel's father's ambitions, leading to a bitter falling out that forced him to leave for college on the West Coast. In his absence, Rachel buried her longing, resigning herself to the constraints of duty and social expectation. Years later, Noah returns, now a principled lawyer dedicated to social justice projects, embodying integrity, calm, and authenticity, qualities starkly contrasting Ethan's polished dominance. His presence rekindles the dormant emotions Rachel has carefully suppressed, igniting a turbulence of desire, memory, and hope. The emotional stakes are immediate and intense. Rachel faces the impossible choice of honoring her commitment to Ethan, preserving her family's future, and maintaining her social facade, or embracing the love, freedom, and passion represented by Noah. Each interaction with him challenges her carefully constructed defenses, forcing her to confront the truth she has long avoided, that her heart yearns for a life of choice rather than obligation. This tension between duty and desire sets the stage for a narrative of inner conflict, moral questioning, and the pursuit of authentic love in the midst of societal and familial constraints. The inciting incident begins with a seemingly ordinary evening at the Carter Blackwell penthouse, where Rachel's engagement is celebrated under a veneer of sophistication. As she walks past the study, her attention is drawn to the low murmur of a phone conversation. Curiosity intertwines with an uneasy sense of intuition, compelling her to pause just out of earshot. Ethan's voice, smooth and confident, carries the weight of betrayal as he speaks not to a lover but to an associate plotting financial maneuvers. The words cut like a blade. He is unfaithful and has been manipulating the engagement to consolidate control over her family's struggling business. The revelation is a seismic shift in Rachel's perception of everything she had believed about love, trust, and her own agency. Her heart races as she processes the dual betrayal, both personal and familial. Every memory of Ethan's charming gestures, his protective facade, and the social accolades now feels like part of a calculated performance. The room around her seems to shrink, suffused with shadows of deceit, and the vibrant city skyline outside becomes a mocking backdrop to the treachery she has uncovered. Rachel's mind is flooded with questions. How much of her life has been staged for appearances? How deeply has Ethan manipulated her family? The sense of isolation deepens as she realizes that she is caught in a web of obligations, romance, and strategic alliances, where love has been weaponized against her, leaving her reeling in stunned silence. Rachel's confrontation with Ethan is quiet yet laden with intensity, a stark contrast to the grandiosity of their social life. In a dimly lit corridor, away from the prying eyes of guests and family, she confronts him, her voice steady despite the storm within. "How could you?" Ethan's reaction is cold, measured, and chilling in its dismissal. His gaze, once a source of security, now feels like a cage. "You're mine now." "This isn't about love, it's about legacy," he declares, his words stripping away any pretense of affection. Rachel recoils internally, the weight of his possessiveness sinking deep into her chest. Every carefully nurtured bond, every family obligation now feels like chains tightening around her spirit. Humiliated, conflicted, and teetering on the edge of despair, she retreats to the solitude of her room. It is there, amidst tears she can't hide, that Noah enters, calm, steady, and grounding. Seeing her vulnerability, he doesn't judge, nor does he offer empty words. Instead, he reminds her of something she almost forgot: she is not an object to be claimed. Gentle touches, comforting words, and fleeting moments of connection reignite their old bond, memories of adolescence and shared secrets surfacing in the spaces between their interactions. The chemistry between them is palpable, a mixture of nostalgia, longing, and protective instinct. In his presence, Rachel's mind begins to clarify the enormity of her predicament, the realization dawning that her life cannot continue as it has been. The turning point crystallizes as Rachel sits alone in the night, Noah's presence still lingering in her mind. She reflects on the duality of her predicament. Marrying Ethan might save her family from financial ruin, but it risks suffocating her identity and spirit. The stakes are immense, and the pressure almost unbearable. Each choice carries consequences, tearing at the fabric of her sense of self. Memories of childhood freedom, whispered promises with Noah, and moments of unguarded happiness clash violently with the obligations imposed by her family and society. The realization settles like a stone in her stomach. Remaining in the marriage will preserve stability but at the cost of her soul. Leaving may liberate her heart but could devastate her family financially and socially. She feels the weight of generational responsibility pressing down, amplifying the tension between personal desire and inherited duty. In this moment, the story pivots, locking Rachel into a high-stakes dilemma that will dictate her every move moving forward. Emotionally, she is caught between fear, anger, longing, and the nascent spark of courage. The narrative thrust is established: her life is no longer just about appearances or compliance, it is a battlefield of love, loyalty, and self-determination. Rachel's journey is now defined by the conflict between heart and obligation, and every decision she makes will ripple outward, threatening the fragile balance of the world she has long known. As Rachel navigates the glamorous chaos of wedding planning, she is living a fractured existence. By day, she attends lavish fittings, tastefully curated meetings with caterers, florists, and event coordinators, playing the part of the perfect fiancé with practiced ease. Ethan hovers nearby, observing, praising selectively, and issuing subtle critiques that reinforce his control. Every smile she offers is measured, every nod calculated to avoid provoking suspicion. By night, she slips into stolen moments with Noah, hidden in quiet cafes, dimly lit parks, or the shadows of familiar streets. These encounters are charged with unspoken emotions, glances that linger too long, fingers brushing accidentally on purpose, and words heavy with meaning left unsaid. Each meeting is a delicate balancing act, the exhilaration of being with Noah, the anchor of genuine affection and recognition, contrasts sharply with the suffocating weight of Ethan's expectations. Rachel feels as if she is living two parallel lives, one dictated by obligation, privilege, and appearances, the other by freedom, authenticity, and longing. Every return to Ethan's side intensifies the cognitive dissonance, making the celebrations feel hollow and rehearsed. Her heart aches with the impossibility of openly embracing her true desires without endangering her family's security. These dual existences do not coexist peacefully, they clash violently within her psyche, fueling anxiety, guilt, and the thrill of forbidden connection. The emotional strain becomes a private storm, one she masks with elegance while internally teetering on the brink of despair and desire. Rachel's struggle is compounded by the relentless weight of her family's expectations. Her parents, particularly her mother, remind her incessantly of Ethan's family's generosity, framing the engagement as both a duty and a privilege. Each comment carries an undercurrent of guilt: the sacrifices her parents have endured, the potential ruin of the family business, and the moral obligation to honor the arrangement. Rachel's mother is especially persuasive, invoking images of family legacy and portraying her daughter's obedience as the ultimate expression of love and loyalty. Meanwhile, Ethan's suspicion grows. Small inconsistencies, delayed responses, or fleeting distractions are scrutinized with precision. He tests her loyalty subtly at first, probing questions during dinners, insinuating remarks in front of acquaintances, before escalating to public humiliation when Rachel asserts an opinion or hesitates to follow his suggestions. These moments erode her confidence, leaving her questioning her perceptions and instincts. The combination of familial guilt and Ethan's controlling tactics creates an environment where Rachel feels trapped, powerless, and constantly evaluated. Every choice becomes a minefield. Speaking up risks Ethan's wrath, silence amplifies her sense of isolation and moral compromise. Her mind is pulled in conflicting directions, torn between love for her family, fear of social fallout, and the growing conviction that she cannot continue sacrificing her identity and desires for a gilded cage that masquerades as security. Amid this mounting pressure, Noah emerges as both refuge and catalyst. One evening, in a quiet, dimly lit setting away from the scrutiny of social expectation, he confesses that he is still deeply in love with her. Yet his love is unselfish. He does not demand that Rachel abandon her obligations or choose him outright. Instead, he encourages her to reclaim agency over her own life, to choose herself before anyone else. His presence forces Rachel to confront the stark contrast between being a possession and being a person with desires, dreams, and moral autonomy. Slowly, she begins to question every role she has assumed: the obedient daughter sacrificing self for familial duty, the impeccably curated fiancé living under the microscope of social expectation, and the young woman who once dreamed of love, freedom, and self-expression. This internal conflict spirals, leaving her in emotional limbo. Each encounter with Noah, every moment under Ethan's scrutiny, every conversation with her parents, tightens the tension. Rachel experiences waves of guilt, longing, anger, and clarity, often all at once. She begins to understand that the path she has been forced onto may save her family's finances but will likely destroy her sense of self. The rising tension is not just about external pressures, it is the psychological warfare within Rachel's mind, where duty clashes with desire, fear battles courage, and her heart struggles to find a voice amidst the suffocating expectations surrounding her days before the wedding. Rachel's carefully contained anxiety explodes into full-blown realization when she uncovers the shocking truth. Hidden among routine corporate documents, she finds contracts forged by Ethan, cleverly designed to place her father's company entirely under his control, rendering her supposed sacrifice meaningless. The engagement, the smiles, and the public displays of loyalty, all orchestrated, were never about saving her family. Each signed page, each clause, is a calculated betrayal that strips her agency and mocks the very notion of familial duty she had clung to. Rachel's heart pounds as the enormity of Ethan's deception sinks in. He had manipulated her love, her trust, and her sense of obligation purely to consolidate power. The room seems to close in on her as she rereads the contracts, each line a dagger, confirming that her compliance would have done nothing to protect her father's company. Rage, grief, and disbelief ripple through her, intertwining with a surge of clarity. Her years of careful obedience, her suppressed desires, and her internal struggle to balance duty and self are suddenly rendered a cruel illusion. Rachel experiences a visceral awakening. The golden cage she prepared to step into was never meant to shelter her family, it was a mechanism to ensnare her life in Ethan's world of control, wealth, and prestige. The revelation ignites a fierce determination within her, a recognition that she can no longer be passive in the face of deceit. Her understanding transforms fear and guilt into resolve, setting the stage for the confrontation that will define the trajectory of her life and shatter the carefully curated facade around her. The tension escalates at the rehearsal dinner, a setting meant for celebration but now pregnant with imminent confrontation. Ethan's presence, confident and polished as ever, radiates subtle intimidation. He corners Rachel quietly, away from the eyes of their families, whispering threats under the guise of charm. "Leave, and I'll ruin your father. Marry me, and you'll live in gold, my gold." His words, silky yet venomous, reveal the full extent of his manipulative control. In that moment, Rachel sees clearly the duality of their entire engagement, public perfection masking private coercion. The opulent dining room, adorned with crystal and fine linens, contrasts sharply with the dark emotional undercurrents coursing through her veins. Every glance from the guests, every toast planned for the evening, now feels suffocating, as if they are witnesses to her entrapment. Yet instead of succumbing to fear, Rachel finds a wellspring of courage ignited by years of suppressed self-doubt and longing for authenticity. Her resolve crystallizes: if she remains silent, she will be complicit in her own subjugation and in Ethan's calculated schemes. The confrontation becomes a crucible, concentrating her anger, pain, and clarity into a single, decisive impulse. She realizes that the only way to reclaim control of her life, her family, and her dignity is to act publicly, decisively, and without hesitation, ensuring that every guest, every observer, witnesses the truth. Rachel stands before the gathered families and guests, a tremor in her hands belying the fierce determination in her eyes. She unfolds the forged contracts and begins to read aloud, her voice clear despite the emotional turmoil coursing through her. The room freezes as each clause is revealed, exposing Ethan's calculated betrayal in meticulous detail. Gasps ripple through the crowd, murmurs of shock and disbelief fill the air. Ethan's polished mask falters, his expression contorting as the carefully maintained image of charm and control crumbles. Anger erupts, his voice sharp, defensive, and laced with incredulity, but Rachel does not falter. Trembling yet unyielding, she delivers the words that sever her connection to his manipulation once and for all. "I am not your deal. I am not your trophy. I am not yours." The declaration resonates like a hammer striking glass, shattering the illusion that has bound her. Chaos ensues, family members confront him, guests react in astonishment, and the very foundations of the arranged engagement collapse in real time. In this moment, Rachel is no longer the obedient daughter, the compliant fiancée, or the pawn in Ethan's game. She is fully, unapologetically herself. A woman reclaiming autonomy, dignity, and moral clarity. The climax not only exposes betrayal but also represents a turning point for her identity, a transformative moment where she steps from the shadows of obligation into the light of self-determination, ready to navigate the aftermath with courage and conviction. In the immediate aftermath of the dramatic revelation, chaos ripples through both families. Ethan's meticulously curated image crumbles as his family scrambles to contain the scandal, issuing private calls, threats, and ultimatums, but the damage is irrevocable. The opulent halls and polished social circles that once insulated Rachel and Ethan now feel hollow and fractured, exposed by the raw truth she revealed. Rachel's parents, initially engulfed in humiliation and confusion, are forced to confront the reality they had ignored for years. Their insistence on strategic alliances and obedience had clouded their judgment. Witnessing their daughter stand so resolutely against manipulation and deceit sparks a profound awakening. They realize that Rachel's intuition, moral clarity, and courage were always strengths, not defiance. Their attempts to control her, though framed as protection, had nearly cost her spirit and autonomy. As the initial shock gives way to reflection, a subtle but significant shift occurs. Respect replaces judgment, acknowledgement replaces blame. In witnessing their daughter's empowerment, they begin to question their own complicity in perpetuating cycles of fear, obligation, and suppression. The aftermath, though uncomfortable and chaotic, serves as a catalyst for family growth. Rachel observes this transformation quietly, her heart tempered with both relief and sorrow, recognizing that healing extends beyond personal freedom. It includes the reclamation of relationships tainted by expectation and control. This nuanced awakening sets the stage for Rachel's next step, choosing independence and self-determination over the gilded cages of social expectation. Rachel, fortified by the clarity of her confrontation, makes the deliberate choice to step away from both families' expectations. She no longer seeks approval or validation, her priority is herself. The decision to sever ties with the pressures of duty, wealth, and legacy is not born of anger alone but from a deep understanding that self-preservation and authenticity are paramount. Noah's presence during this period is subtle yet profoundly grounding. He does not impose, chase, or pressure her to choose him. Instead, he offers quiet, unwavering support. In a tender moment, he tells her, "Whether you stand alone or with me, I'll respect you because you finally chose you." His words resonate deeply, reinforcing the notion that empowerment is not contingent on romantic attachment but on reclaiming agency. Rachel's courage manifests in concrete actions. She moves into a modest apartment, establishes boundaries with her family, and navigates social fallout with poise and resilience. Each step is deliberate, reflecting a newfound confidence in her judgment and decisions. The act of choosing herself, rather than being chosen or claimed, marks a profound transformation. For the first time, she feels the weight of her life resting in her own hands, unmediated by others' expectations. This empowerment is both liberating and challenging, requiring Rachel to reconcile lingering guilt, societal judgment, and personal longing while maintaining the clarity that fueled her defiance. With the immediate upheaval behind her, Rachel begins to reconstruct her life on her own terms. Noah connects her with a non-profit organization where her skills, intellect, and compassion can flourish, allowing her to contribute meaningfully to a cause larger than social appearances or familial obligation. Here, she experiences a sense of purpose previously denied by wealth, expectation, and control. Her days are filled with tangible achievement, community, and the quiet satisfaction of integrity, a stark contrast to the performative existence she endured with Ethan. Healing is gradual, moments of doubt, memory, and residual guilt surface, yet Rachel approaches each challenge with resilience and self-compassion. Friendships deepen, personal ambitions take shape, and she learns the nuances of independence, decision-making without fear, prioritizing values over approval, and embracing the uncertainty of life chosen freely. Noah remains a steady, supportive presence, a reminder of trust, respect, and authentic connection, but he never overshadows her autonomy. In these moments, Rachel internalizes a profound truth: her identity, her worth, and her future are hers alone to define. The arc closes with Rachel fully embracing empowerment, her heart and mind aligned, as she steps into a life rich with possibility, freedom, and the enduring knowledge that choosing oneself is the first act of true love. Months have passed since the storm of revelations and confrontations, and Rachel now finds herself in a small, sunlit apartment that feels like an extension of her newfound freedom. The space is modest, yet it carries the warmth of choice, simplicity, and independence, everything her previous life lacked. In a quiet, almost ritualistic moment, she approaches her unused wedding dress, the fabric still pristine, the memories of forced smiles and hollow celebrations folded delicately in her mind. Holding the gown in her hands, she feels a mixture of sadness, relief, and resolve. This dress, once a symbol of obligation, expectation, and control, now becomes a vessel for liberation. She carefully places it into a donation box, whispering softly, "May this bring someone joy, not chains." The gesture is symbolic on multiple levels. It is a farewell to the life she was coerced into, a release of guilt she carried for years, and an acknowledgement that her happiness can no longer be dictated by others. The act is small yet powerful, a tangible representation of her reclamation of autonomy and self-worth. In this quiet moment, Rachel allows herself to grieve what she lost, honor the strength she gained, and embrace the openness of a life designed by her own choices. The apartment, the morning light, and the simple act of letting go create a serene emotional backdrop, illustrating that freedom is not loud or spectacular. It is intimate, deliberate, and profoundly personal. Shortly after this act of closure, Rachel receives a letter from her father. The envelope carries more than words. It embodies acknowledgement, respect, and the slow mending of bonds strained by years of expectation and control. In his note, he expresses gratitude, confessing that Rachel's courage in standing up to Ethan and, by extension, to the pressures of tradition and financial obligation, taught him a lesson in integrity and bravery. He admits pride in his daughter, acknowledging that her choices were guided by moral clarity rather than rebellion. The letter becomes a mirror for Rachel's journey. It is proof that courage can inspire change in others, even those who once seemed immovable. The simple act of receiving written acknowledgement fills her with warmth and reinforces her sense of self. No extravagant gestures accompany this reconciliation, only the quiet, sincere admission that her voice mattered and her actions had impact. It is a subtle but profound emotional beat, reinforcing the story's theme that true empowerment is not always measured by dramatic victories or public triumphs but by authentic, meaningful connections and the respect earned through integrity.
Rachel places the letter carefully on her shelf, a reminder of the balance between independence and family, showing that one can reclaim their life without severing bonds entirely, but rather by establishing mutual respect and understanding. The closing emotional moment comes with Noah's quiet, unassuming presence. He visits Rachel's apartment, holding 2 cups of coffee, his smile gentle and free of ceremony. There are no grand gestures, no dramatic declarations, just the comforting simplicity of shared history and unspoken understanding. Their eyes meet, reflecting a tapestry of past pain, nostalgia, and enduring connection. Yet this moment is different from the intensity of former turmoil. It carries possibility, the promise of mutual respect, and the knowledge that love, in its healthiest form, honors autonomy and choice. Rachel receives him not as a rescued soul, but as an equal partner in the narrative she has reclaimed. In her reflection, she acknowledges the complexity of her journey. I was engaged to him, but in love with another. In the end, I chose the only love that mattered, my own. This narration encapsulates the story's central emotional truth, that the greatest act of love is self-love and self-determination. The scene closes with warmth, subtle hope, and quiet satisfaction, leaving the audience with a sense of closure, empowerment, and the understanding that happiness is most profound when rooted in authenticity rather than obligation. The emotional arc comes full circle, showing that resilience, courage, and thoughtful action lead to liberation and genuine connection.